Hello and welcome to my presentation. My name is Julia Webb and today I will be discussing Rudolf Dreikurs and his modeling for addressing and improving behavior in children. Before diving into Dreikurs' model, it is important to understand the history surrounding this theory's formulation. Rudolf Dreikurs was born in Vienna, Austria on February 8, 1897. He spent many years of his life studying under Alfred Adler. Adler is considered to be the father of individual psychology. Individual psychology is a theory of human behavior emphasizing the drive to overcome feelings of inferiority by compensation and the need to achieve personal goals that have value for society. After studying under Adler for many years, Dreikurs and Adler became close colleagues, and they took on Adler's work together. The death of Adler in 1937 brought Dreikurs to the United States. He continued to further the work of Adler in Chicago, Illinois. Adler had developed his theory thoroughly, but he didn't create any practical techniques to implement this theory in a real-world setting. Throughout the remaining 35 years of his life, Dreikurs developed practical applications for the theories of Adler that could be used in a real-world setting. In addition to creating these techniques, he also founded the Institute of Adlerian Psychology, now known as Adler University, to spread awareness and teach others what he had discovered with Adler. Dreikurs' theory is primarily based on the idea that in everything children do, they do it to fit in socially. At the root of all behavior is the desire to find one's place in a group of like-minded individuals. Coming from this presumption, it becomes a lot easier to understand misbehavior and how to promote good behavior. Dreikurs discovered that there are four main reasons to why children misbehave. The first and most obvious is to gain attention. This reason originates from a child's desire to be noticed and valuable to others. Some children only receive attention from their parents when they misbehave. In these cases, doing the right thing receives no attention from their parents, so they continue to misbehave because misbehaving gets them the attention that they want. The second reason is to gain power. Gaining power usually stems from a lack of results in the first reason, to misbehave. Children who desire attention but do not get it from misbehavior will often misbehave in a way that gives them power over another child. This can potentially make them feel better about themselves, but more often than not, they do not get the results that they want from others and become very angry. This anger comes from feeling like they are not receiving the attention that they deserve from others. So they then misbehave for the third reason, to get revenge. If none of these misbehaviors have served to achieve their goals, then there is one reason left for their misbehavior, to display feelings of inadequacy. When they no longer feel like they have a place in their community, their actions show it, and it is clear that they are feeling unimportant. The last component of this theory is what promotes positive behavior. According to Adler principles, encouragement promotes positive behavior. Though similar, encouragement is different than positive-negative reinforcement. Encouragement focuses on enabling children to be successful, to overcome obstacles, and to direct future behavior, while reinforcement is in response to behavior that has already occurred. Rudolf Dreikurs took this theory and created ways to use it to treat and guide children and parents. With encouragement also comes the idea of setting clear and positive expectations for children. Dreikurs focused on the principle of guiding expectations. This was the idea that people arrange things to happen in such a way that the results yielded is which they expected. So Dreikurs claimed that if parents and teachers come together to encourage positive expectations, they will see more positive behavior in the child. In order to better understand his theory and its practical application, let's take a look at how Dreikurs would categorize a child. Let's take, for example, 2-year-old Joey. It is important to evaluate the milestones that a child has reached in order to better understand where the child is in their development. There are 5 main areas in which a child can be evaluated: language, cognitive, social, emotional, and physical. In order to have a better understanding of our fictitious child Joey, let us set some milestones that he has reached. Language. Joey has begun asking the all too familiar question, why? He has developed a sense of curiosity about the world. He is vocal about his questions and is able to hold a conversation with short sentences with basic structure. He has a small understanding of grammar rules, but it is constantly growing. His comprehension of language surpasses his ability to use it properly. While he will understand what you are saying, he won't always be able to clearly answer you. Cognitive. As far as cognitive development goes, Joey has been able to develop a strong sense of object permanence. Object permanence is the understanding that objects continue to exist even when they cannot be seen, heard, touched, smelled, or sensed in any way. Where before Joey would be alarmed if he couldn't see his favorite toy and thought it was gone forever, he is now aware of the fact that his toy is still somewhere in his play space, and he simply needs to search around a few minutes to find it. Social. Joey has recently learned the concept of turn-taking, which is a big milestone for toddlers. He is aware that in order for things to be fair, everyone must be allotted a similar amount of time with toys, games, etc. He enjoys playing with other children and is beginning to develop a thorough schema of socially acceptable behavior. Emotional. Joey's parents have been very careful to ensure that Joey learns the ability to communicate how he is feeling. Joey is now able to verbalize his emotions and is able to understand the emotions of others to a degree. He is starting to experience nightmares and occasionally throws a temper tantrum, but the consistency of his parents' expectations and consequences has allowed him to understand the boundaries of acceptable and unacceptable behavior. Joey is further along in his emotional development than most children of the same age. Physical. Joey is very active and able to do many tasks that are typically learned at this age, such as standing on tiptoes, hold a pencil properly, is able to feed himself with minimal mess involved, and is able to catch a ball. As far as his physical capabilities go, he is right where he is supposed to be. Now that we have assigned milestones to Joey, let's look how Dreikurs would categorize the following interaction. Joey sees some of his friends sitting around a toy train track, and he decides to go sit down and play with them. When Joey sits down, 2 of the 4 stand up and walk over to the toy bin across the room. Joey then angrily stands up, walks over to one of the boys, and takes the toy out of his friend's hand, and then goes and sits back down at the toy train track. This interaction may seem unusual, but Dreikurs would argue that there's a simple explanation for why things happen that way. Let's start from the top. Since the theory is based on the idea that our behavior is due to our desire to fit in socially, Dreikurs would say that Joey went to the train tracks because he wanted to join his friends and be a part of their group. Then, 2 of them left. Joey felt slighted, excluded, and subsequently became angry. The reason for his misbehavior was therefore revenge, because he did not get the attention that he felt he deserved from his friends. Now that we have identified how Dreikurs would classify this situation, it is important to address what a parent or teacher could do in order to address this situation. The main component of Dreikurs' model for behavioral correction is encouragement. Thus, the teacher could encourage Joey that it's okay to feel these emotions, but we have to work on handling these emotions in a different way. It would also be important to encourage Joey that he still has a prominent place in that social setting, and that simply because a couple of his friends walked over to grab additional toys, that does not mean that they were doing so to avoid him. Finally, it would be important to encourage him to be vocal about his emotions in the moment. Let's look at another scenario involving the need for better expectation setting. At daycare, Joey's teacher has been focusing mainly on other children and has paid little attention to Joey. Joey then picks up a block and throws it in the direction of his teacher. The teacher is surprised by Joey's misbehavior because he is typically very well behaved. Through Dreikurs' model, his teacher realizes he does not feel valuable to others and has misbehaved in order to gain her attention. She quickly remembers Dreikurs' practical applications and explains to Joey that there are going to be times where she isn't able to play with him for a little while, and that it's not because she doesn't want to, but because sometimes other children need extra help with certain things. This explanation would give Joey more realistic expectations for the amount of attention he can expect to receive from his teacher. And it also conveys this information in a way that is easier for him to receive. Similar to the last scenario, she could also encourage him to express the way he was feeling in a more productive manner. This is how the practical application of Dreikurs can be used in a real-world setting. This theory is ultimately about setting clear expectations and constantly encouraging children to grow. Children misbehave due to feeling that they don't fit in socially, and it is important to try and identify the reason for their misbehavior. I hope you have gained a better understanding of Dreikurs' theory and the practical application of that theory.